Next up, we need to install this intercooler behind this bumper. From where we are, getting the front bumper off is really no big deal. Alright, so this is our plan for our intercooler mounting. The jack is holding the intercooler up at the very bottom of where the bumper cover would be. We're going to obviously take a chunk out of this bumper itself. We'll just take a little middle piece out, and we'll leave the top in place. We'll bolt the intercooler right to the top piece as far back as we can. Alright, let's get to cutting. So we've already cut the first section right up here out of the front bumper cover. Behind this, there's a cross member on the frame that we're also going to trim back a little bit just to give us literally 1 inch of space. We're not going to cut the whole cross member, we're only going to chop half of it. I can show you what that looks like. We only need literally this much space, so we're just going to take this part out of it and make it flat, and that'll give us all the room we need for the intercooler just to slide up underneath and bolt right to the top of the bumper. And then the cover will go back on, it'll have its support up top and in front, and we'll have our nice big intercooler that will support all the power we want to make. I love our plasma cutter. I really hate using cutoff wheels. They make such a mess. Fiberglass or carbide. They make such a mess. But this, you make one quick little cut and then that's it. This is the material, the section we need to remove from here. Now we'll test fit our intercooler with the bumper on, see if it fits up in the pocket. If it does, then maybe we'll take the section of front bumper that we removed and we'll cut out a plate and we'll weld it back to this so this is still has structure to it. And the mock-up looks good. Everything fits. This jack is set at 18 or 16 inches off the ground, which is the bottom of the bumper cover. So it'll all fit behind the bumper cover and everything looks fine. The only thing that might be is we're not going to have too much of a lip for the bumper to come down and wrap around, but we're in. Now we're going to take it all back down. We're going to plate our cross member that we cut up a little bit, and then I think we're going to be on final assembly already. Moving right along. We have our piece of steel cut out of the front bumper, the section we removed from the front bumper that we're going to put back up here and weld in. But before we do, we need to understand how thick this steel is. We got our nice little Miller gauging tool. Come with our Miller welder. I don't know if you guys can see this down here. This is a really cool tool, and it tells us how thick the metal is that we're working with. Is that really 1 inch? That can't. We're either 14 gauge or 8th inch, which is nice. It's good and thick steel. And the cross brace is the same. Perfect. We used a Miller Multimatic 255. It's got a digital face on it. And so we program into it how thick the metal is that we're working with, and it sets itself accordingly. Makes it easy. And that's what we landed with. This is our modified crossbar with a vertical piece welded into what was left. And from here, we're just going to put some color on it, and then we're going to start assembling and mounting the intercooler. Here's a good shot showing how much of the front bar we've removed. We've taken about half of it, and that's all the space we need. The bottom bar is actually almost flush with the body. And here's our intercooler mounted. We have some epoxy, our panel bond adhesive, 3M8115 panel bond, setting up on the sides and the back of the intercooler to help hold it in place. These two bolts that are holding the top of the intercooler to the bumper can't stay because the bumper cover literally sits right across the top of this. So when the panel bond is set up tomorrow, we'll take our tape off, but also we'll chop the heads off these bolts, and then maybe just put a quick bead of weld between the shank of the bolt and the bumper support, and then grind that down a little bit so that we can put the bumper cover back on and not have lumps or whatever on it. And that'll be it. The intercooler is in, and we're still waiting on our materials for the turbo manifold modification. So here we are, the intercooler is in and mounted. We've cut the heads off the bolt, welded the shank of the bolt to the top of the bumper, and ground it flush and flat. We have panel bond 8115 adhesive that's already set up on the sides of the intercooler and in 4 spots on the back. So this intercooler is really a part of this bumper now. It ain't going anywhere. The intercooler that we're using here is 24 inches wide by 12 inches tall by 3 or 4 inches deep. I think it's 4 inches deep. And that's about the biggest that we could fit in here. From here, this piece will go on top, and then we'll fit the bumper cover over it. We're going to have to trim the bumper cover a little bit, and we anticipate that we're going to dump the fog lights. The fog lights would be like right here and on the other side. There are smaller intercoolers that we could use if we were going to go with less power, but this intercooler is really as small as you want to get if you're going to be trying to make like 600 or so. Any of the smaller intercoolers, it's not just about their ability to displace temperature. They're going to create a pressure differential, and they're going to back up pressure on the side of the turbo and not let enough of that air get to the motor. So you really got to have a certain physical dimension to the intercooler just so that you can keep the pressure differentials down as you build on the boost and as the motor starts drinking a lot of air. And there we have it. The bumper cover's back on. There is no way that the fog lights are going to fit in this anymore, but that's a good look. The intercooler takes up that whole lower opening. It's centered in it pretty well. That's just a good clean look, and that should get plenty of airflow across it. We still got a long way to go. We're going to keep rocking and rolling on it, but the intercooler is done and set up.